Hey everyone, I am Anthony Scott at ToyHypeUSA.com. Today I'm reviewing the 18th box, the FanHome's R2-D2 subscription box, which includes issues 67, 68, 69, and 70. Each of these magazines come with the parts to continue on with the build. Special shout out and thank you to FanHome for sending along for review. Greatly appreciate that. To subscribe, click off the links off of the YouTube description or off of ToyHypeUSA.com. They'll take you right over to the FanHome page and where you can find more information about this subscription. Here's a closer look at issue 67, as well as the parts that we're going to be using to continue on with the build. Inside, building R2-D2, assembling the bottom frames. Inside Star Wars, last minute alterations. And for Droid Directory, we have 000 Protocol Droid. Oops. All right, so first article, last minute alterations. And here's that continuation. You just got a preview of. Up next, 000 Protocol Droid. And a continuation. And finally, we have a new article for robotics, Robotic Vision. A continuation. And finally, we have body frames. Here's a breakdown of all the parts we're going to be using, all these kinds of screws as well. And here are the step-by-step instructions. So here's a look at the parts. And these are the steps. So take your time, no need to hurry. And completed assembly. Here is a look at the back. So what I'm going to do now is assemble this, and let's take a closer look. Here's a look at the final completion of the frame. Bringing this in a little bit closer so you guys can see. You want to use the longer screws, which will stick up like this. We're going to be using 4 of them. And we're going to be screwing them in from the bottom. So this is all complete, nice and done. And I am now moving on to the next issue. Up next is issue 68, and here's a look at the parts we're going to be using for assembly. Bunch of parts there. Inside this issue, assembling the side panel. Inside Star Wars, the end of an error. And for Droid Directory, we have droids of Decor Resistance Base. The end of an error is up first. A continuation. And droids of Decor Resistance Base. Droids of Maz Kanata's Castle. And for robotics, we have end of an arm tooling. And a continuation on the left. And on the right, we have a breakdown of the parts for assembly. We're also going to be using the screws, as we have plenty of them from the previous issue. Here's a look at all the parts, where they go. And here's a look at the steps. So it's going to be placed on like this. Using the screws. Make sure to take your time and read carefully. Here's your look there, and completed assembly. So what I'm going to do is assemble this now, and let's take a closer look. Here's a look at the completed assembly. So these details are now on. This one and this one are screwed in. This one we're not going to screw in just yet. So here's your look there. And here's a look at your back as shown. Look at the screws and everything. And I am now moving on to the next issue. Here's a look at the cover of issue 69, as well as the parts we're going to be using for assembly. Inside this issue, assembling the bottom ring frame. Inside Star Wars, the galaxy moves on. And for Droid Directory, we have Commando Droid. First article, the galaxy moves on. A continuation. For Droid Directory, we have BX series Commando Droid, used by the Separatists in the Clone Wars. A continuation. Also, you see Cad Bane, as well as Darth Vader down here. And now for robotics, telepresence and video conference robots. A continuation. And now for assembly. This includes the body frames. So here is a look at the parts. And the arrows point to where it's going to go. And for assembly, we've done frames before, so this should be easy. Here's a look at that. Screwing it in with the metal screws. And completed assembly. So I'm going to assemble this now, and let's take a closer look. Here's a look at completed assembly. The ring connector is what's holding these two pieces together, along with two silver screws that are in right there. Here is a look at the other side for your reference. The internal support, we're just going to put to the side for now. We're not going to use it. And I am now moving on to the next issue. All right, so here's a look at issue 70 and a look at the parts we're going to be using to continue the build. Inside issue 70, building R2-D2, expanding the body panels inside Star Wars towards the prequels, and for Droid Directory, BT-1 Blastomech prototype. First article, towards the prequels, and a continuation. Droid Directory, BT-1, Blastomech prototype. A continuation. And for robotics, social robots. And here's a look at the parts and steps we're going to be taking. Here is a breakdown of the parts, which you see here. And this is where they're all going to go. Fitting the rear details. So we're going to be using all these parts, some additional screws from the first baggie. And the second page. There's your look there. Joining the rear panels. Make sure to take your time. This is how it's gonna fit together. And completed assembly. So I'm going to work on this now, and let's take a closer look. Here's a look at final assembly. Overall, this is coming along great. Here's a look at the back. These pieces here are what hold the two halves together. Each side is screwed in. Here's a look at the bottom there. So the details on this is coming along great. When finished, R2-D2 is going to be an awesome figure. I highly recommend you guys add a subscription. I think you will not regret it. Thank you for watching this video. Please stay tuned for more coverage. I am Anthony Scott at ToyHypeUSA.com. Thanks again to FanHome for sending along for a review. Greatly appreciate that. More reviews are coming, guys, so hang tight. Thank you.